Welcome to Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. Monday through Friday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Pacific. Ray Flowers breaks it all down for you from a fantasy sports perspective. Hey there, everyone. Ray Flowers of FantasyGuru.com. Hope you're doing well today on this Friday. As we wrap up the first week of June, don't forget to go to FantasyGuru.com. Click on that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get signed up for the baseball product. It's one package now, seasonal DFS wagering. Get signed up for the football packages. We sell them separately, DFS wagering and seasonal. You can get them all together. We'll talk more about that as we get a little bit deeper into the show. But go to FantasyGuru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. I'm Ray Flowers of FG. Thanks for joining me here today. We're with you every day, Monday through Friday on Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by FantasyGuru.com. About an hour each day, roughly an hour each day. I'm usually on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Justin Frenchman's on Wednesdays. And we have a good time here. Monday's the only solo day. I go an hour on my own on Monday. The other 4 days, we have guests from FantasyGuru.com to come in. And we're doing a lot of football talk, but don't worry, we're still talking baseball. 4 days a week at least. We're baseball for half the show, if not longer. On Mondays, I usually do a full day of baseball. I've been contemplating, I'm just wrapping up a 12-team startup dynasty draft. We have 45 roster spots, IDP, the whole thing. I'm contemplating doing that next week. So maybe I'll do that like on Friday next week. I'll review that. I've had some requests for that. But almost every day we talk baseball here on Fantasy Sports Daily. And there's a lot of ways for you to get involved with us. To be part of the show, you can watch us live or on demand at Facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ, Twitter X @FantasyGuruSite, and on YouTube at YouTube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork. And if you check us out at any of those three places, you have the ability to leave comments and questions that we can address throughout the show. So please avail yourselves of that. You can always go to FantasyGuru.com and just click the Elite Plus tab at the top of the page. Listen to the podcast there. You can type in Fantasy Sports Daily to your podcast network, wherever you listen to podcasts, be it Pandora or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, YouTube Music. Just type in Fantasy Sports Daily and you should find us there. All right, what are we talking about today? Well, let's throw it up on the screen here for those of you that are watching. We're going to review some of the strong performers from last night, and there were some. It's not always positive news here on the show, but there were some good performances last night. We'll review that. Guys like Soderstrom and Butler, Bichette, Isaac Paredes, Maikel Garcia. He wasn't running a while ago. Now he's running, and his bat's working pretty well too, so we'll talk about that. Marcus Semien, is he back in our lives? Bryce Eldridge, is he someone to talk about? Teel, we'll talk about those two youngsters. So yes, they are someone to talk about. Then we'll talk about Shane Bieber, Cole Ragans, and Jesus Luzardo. What is going on? What in the world is going on with Jesus Luzardo, who's given up 20 runs in 5 innings to literally double his season-long ERA? We'll talk about that moving forward here. All right. Let me fix the size here. Shoot. There we go. I'm bigger. Look at me. Hey. Again, don't forget to go to FantasyGuru.com. Click that subscribe tab. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a few minutes. Okay. Tyler Soderstrom. Interesting, right? Because he started out white hot. People got way too excited. Then he slowed down. People got way depressed. And if you pull back and look at what he did last night, he hit 2-run home run last night, hit a grand slam last night. He's now up to 11th in the league in home runs and 13th in the league in RBIs, and he's on pace to go 30-100. Now, I know we all get caught up in what's happened. What have you done for me lately? I think a lot of people's memories might be 2 weeks. A lot of people shorter than that. The fact is that Soderstrom is a good prospect who has performed at a high level this year. The dreams of him becoming catcher eligible, they're out the window. It's not going to happen. But he has played 30 games in the outfield and at first base. So he's going to be dual position eligible next year. And again, he's on pace to go 250, 30-100. My hopes and estimates and guesses at the start of the season for him were 250, 25, 80. Or 250, 20, 80, I might even have said. 20, 25, I forget. Let's go 25. So he's well on pace to do that. And I think that anyone that's disappointed with his performance, because I've heard people, and again, when you have a 6 RBI night and you hit 2 home runs, everything looks really different. But that's kind of the point. 24 hours ago, he had 12 home runs and 36 RBIs. And you're like, yeah, okay. Now it's 14 and 42. And all of a sudden, again, he's on pace to go 30-100. The fact is that he's done a very good job this season. He's dual position eligible. His batted ball data is really nice. 10% launch angle, 92% exit velocity, 16% barrel rate. It's a big boy number. 50% hard hit rate. There's a lot. His expected batting average is higher than his current average by 25, 30 points. His expected slugging percentage is 35, 40 points higher. He could be even a little bit better than it has been. So good news for him. He is delivering on the promise that we should have had. Well, he's delivering on the promise we had and even exceeding it, to be fair. Now, if you compare it to the first 2 weeks of the season, again, maybe you're disappointed, but legitimately, he's been great. And last night was kind of a cherry on top of what has been an excellent start to the season for Tyler Soderstrom. Now, his teammate, Larwrence Butler, he's been a little bit inconsistent as well. There's been times where he's hit at the top of the order. There's been times where he's moved down in the order. He's back at the top of the order. He had 2 hits yesterday, 2 walks, stole a base, scored 3 runs. And, I've gotten questions about Butler, including in the last couple of weeks, like, Butler, this kind of thing. Last month, he's hitting 300 with a 970 OPS. The last 2 weeks, he's hitting 400 with a 1200 OPS. He's got his average up to 267, which is, right in line with what you should be expecting. It's actually a little bit higher, a little bit. 805 OPS, right with expectations. 9 home runs, 10 steals, on pace to go 25-25. Here's another example of a guy that I don't really understand. Sometimes I don't understand what people's expectations are with players. If it's Jose Ramirez that struggles or Bobby Witt that struggles, no one cares because they know these guys will pull out of it and it'll be fine. I get the sense that a lot of people, when we're talking about kind of the mid-level guys that are going to be someone you want to hold on to all year, that are going to be someone that's productive all year if you just give them time, and maybe that's the wrong way to say it. They're going to be productive for the season if you give them time. People get really tired of those guys, and I think Butler fell into that because it's like, he's kind of limping along and he's been okay, and getting dropped in the order, and again, he's on pace to go 25-25 while hitting 270. That sounds pretty good to me. That doesn't sound pretty good to you. I hope it does, because if it doesn't, I don't know what your expectations were. We talked a lot about Bryan Reynolds, just to throw him out there. Bryan Reynolds has been disappointing, period. Is he going to live up fully to expectations? Probably not. But I'll tell you, the last 2 weeks, he's hitting 333 with a 920 OPS. A guy like Bryan Reynolds, who has a track record year after year after year, should have gotten a long leash. I know a lot of people dropped him. I know I've even told some people to drop him because they've had the opportunity to pick up guys that shouldn't be on the waiver wire. I've also said I think every time someone's brought up Bryan Reynolds, I'm a Bryan Reynolds guy, I wouldn't drop him. So, head-to-head also plays into this too, right? If you're playing a head-to-head game, you need instant... I can't snap. My thumbs don't. Geez, that's terrible snapping. You need head-to-head. You need it right now. It's tough to trust these guys to come through. Reynolds is starting to hit. Butler starting to produce. And again, I think he's kind of produced all season long, minus a little bit of a couple weeks stretch there. Bo Bichette is fascinating. Bo Bichette went 2 for 4 with the home run last night. And, we were saying Bo Bichette, all of us were, represents a nice buying opportunity this season, right? His ADP was in the hundreds. It's the lowest it had been since he emerged on the scene. He was terrible last season. Started out this season kind of slowly, and then he hit a little bit, but there still wasn't any power. And it's like, Bo Bichette, nah. He's going to be fine this year, but he's in that Bryan Reynolds zone. He's a guy that we won't mind having, and he'll be fine based upon his ADP. But, he's got 4 home runs in 8 games. And all of a sudden, the calculus is changing a little bit. Because now he's got his batting average up to 280, and he's got 8 home runs and 35 RBIs in 62 games. Now, this is not peak Bo Bichette. Because Bo Bichette obviously was hitting 295, 310. He was a 300 hitter, basically, with 25 home runs, and he's on pace to go 280 with 22 home runs. Still, given where we were at last year in his wet noodle bat, that'd be a pretty good effort. You look at him the last couple of weeks, these, again, 4 home runs in 8 games, 10 RBIs in 13 games, hitting 235 in that stretch, though, so it's been a lot of power, not a lot else. Bichette's fine. Again, I think that talk about his demise in the offseason was overblown. If you're wondering why I'm shifting, it's because I'm standing up. My new stand-up desk is working wonders for my back. Just let everyone know. But Bichette's going to be fine. Is he going to hit 300 this year? I can't say he won't. Am I expecting it? No. And he's up to 4 steals, and though there was a time where 20 steals was in play, and 10's in play now, so he's got a chance to get there. He should be hitting 20 home runs. With this recent stretch here the last week, that's back in play. So I think Bichette's fine. And much like Brian Reynolds, he's fine. Do you win leagues with that? No. But it's nice to have fine, especially when all these other guys are getting hurt on a daily basis. Kyle, by the way, says, Brian Reynolds zone, similar to a friend zone for dating. Yeah, kind of. Yeah, kind of. When you're in the friend zone, and we've all been in the friend zone, you don't really get rid of the significant other, though, do you? Or the other person? You stay in the friend zone hoping. You always have hope, right? Like maybe, just maybe. Maybe one day she'll change her opinion. Or maybe one day he'll have too many beers and, So, yeah, it's kind of like that, Kyle. Good point. Eddie says, Ray. Eddie, how are you? Welcome to the show. Let's keep going with the talk here. Let's go. Isaac Paredes, another one of these guys that ADP wasn't aggressive and expectations were just be solid. And, he went 2 of 5 last night, hit 2 home runs at Isaac Paredes. And, he's got 14 home runs, 37 RBIs, hitting 250 with a 350 on base percentage and a 475 slugging percentage. And he's done this before. He had 1 year where he hit 30 home runs. And we talked about him in the preseason going to the Houston, getting to hit with the Crawford boxes. He pulls everything right down the line. This seemed like a match kind of made in heaven. And here we are, 65 games into the season, less than halfway. And he's well on pace to hit 30 home runs again, while batting 250 with a 350 on base percentage. He's been really good. And remember, Jose Altuve's been all over the place. Yordan Alvarez has been out of this lineup for an extended period of time. Like, they really haven't all... Christian Walker's been down, really down. Like, if Altuve's doing Altuve and Walker and or Alvarez are doing their thing, all of a sudden Isaac Paredes is part of a huge lineup. But don't forget, Paredes is hitting second. So he's going to be sandwiched between Altuve and Alvarez. That could get really interesting in the second half of the season. So I think the baseline expectations are being fulfilled by Paredes this year. And I think the second half could be even better if the Astros could finally get their offense together and get it going. Maikel Garcia, here's another interesting guy. Garcia is somebody that, he's had a lot of strong batted ball data over the years, but he's hit everything into the ground, and it's never really allowed him to emerge offensively. Last year, he stole 37 bases, and he scored 84 runs because he plays every day. So people were drafting him basically this year for the 35-40 steals. He did hit 231 last year, which is not who he is. So it's not surprising to see him hitting 311 now, because if you had those last year and this year together, right, you get basically the hitter he really is. He's a 275, 280 hitter. But again, the batted ball data is really nice. It would not be a shocker if he hit 290 plus this year. It wouldn't be a shock. He's at 311 right now. He showed a little bit more power than we've seen in times in the past. He's already 1 home run away from his total from last season, which again is not shocking given his batted ball data. The problem he's dealt with this year is that he hasn't run much. Well, check this out. 3 steals the last 5 games. All of a sudden, he's up to 13 steals. And now we have a Maikel Garcia, who a couple weeks ago was on pace to, hit 13 home runs and steal 21 bases. Now on pace to hit 18 home runs, or 15 plus home runs, let's call it, and still 35 bases. Garcia, who qualifies at second and third, in a lot of leagues, has played third base 45 times this year, has played second base 11 times, has been in the outfield 7 times. He's played shortstop 4 times. So depending upon your in-season needs for a position, like if it's 5, he's 1 game away from shortstop, being second base, third base, shortstop, and outfield eligible. On top of the offensive game, on top of the speed, and on top of the fact that he plays every day. He does hit down in the order, which is unfortunate, because if he was at the top of the order, his run scored total would be way higher than it is. 28 and 61 games. Again, that's a 75-80 pace. We'll live with that for sure. But he's been really good. And no real signs of slowing down with him. If nothing else, he continues to produce at a level that leads one to think that maybe this is going to be the year it all sticks and comes together for Maikel Garcia. Oneil Cruz had a single, drove in a couple of runs yesterday. Just wanted to check in on him. Cruz, who's hitting 230 this year, which is disappointing. He has 12 home runs and 22 steals, so clearly he's on a 25-40 pace, which puts him in range of 30-40. He's got his on-base percentage up to 350, which is really good. And something to monitor with Oneil Cruz is the ability to hit left-handed pitching. Last year, he made some adjustments down the stretch, and he did very well in the second half of the season against lefties. This year, he has not done well. He's got 1 home run, and he's hitting 143 against lefties. And that's in 66 plate appearances. That's terrible. If he could just, improve a little bit. If he could hit 210 against lefties, right? Just be but still be able to do that. I mean, then we got a guy, instead of hitting 230, he's hitting 250. And then it's 250, 30, 40. If it's 230, 50, 30, 40, we're still taking it, of course. But the strikeouts that were down early have returned. And this is the legitimate concern with him this year and moving forward. He's 6'7", 6'7", 6'7". This is 6'7". He's got a huge strike zone, okay? And that's not going to change. He's very controlled with his swing, but still, it's a huge strike zone. And he's had basically a 32% strikeout rate for his career. It's 33% this season. When we talk about this all the time, when you're over 30%, a best case scenario is hitting 250. And last year he hit 259. It's a best case scenario. He's going to have to make more contact. Luckily for us, he hits the home run and steals the bases, so we can deal with a loss of 15 batting average points. It's not the end of the world. But really, the key will be making a little bit more contact and having just a little bit more success against lefties. And if he does that, we can get him back to that batting average he had last year. One negative for him, he's only played the outfield this year, so he's no longer going to be a shortstop. I guess there's always a chance there's an injury and they put him back there, but he's going to be an outfield eligible only next year. But I see this from Kyle, said it's so sad he has no help. Both runs last night were him at the plate. I'd give anything to see him batting with some support around him. Yeah, and it's pretty good too that he's on pace to score 90 plus runs as well, given that lineup. And again, a lot of that has to do with the 15% walk rate. He's done a really good job taking the walk. So his 352 on base percentage is pretty good. Like that's for a guy hitting 230, that separation of 120 points between your average and your on base percentage is really good. So lots to like with Cruz, some tinkering that still needs to be done. And don't forget, he's almost 27 years old, but he's played 299 games in the majors. He could still make these changes that we're talking about. He's still rather young in his development. Now, here's an interesting one. Jeimer Candelario, almost said Jeimer. Jeimer Candelario of the Reds is getting close to being ready to return. Christian Encarnacion Strand is getting close to being able to return. What are the Reds going to do? Well, Jeimer Candelario is going to be back on the Major League roster. And that's just how that's going to be. So CS is probably the guy out. Now, it's a question what the Reds are going to do. They've been playing Santiago Espinal, who's just a guy, but I guess Terry Francona likes him, and they've had him in the lineup. They finally dropped him in the order after they realized he wasn't doing anything offensively. It'll be interesting to see what the Reds do, and this goes back to the discussion that we've had. I think we've had this discussion with the Reds legitimately for 3 years, at least 2 years. They got too many pieces. I wrote, by the way, yesterday about Matt McLain, so if you're interested in an update on Matt McLain, go to fantasyguru.com and read the Rays Ramblings piece yesterday. Did an article yesterday about guys that have struggled the last 2 weeks really badly and who not necessarily have been that great all year long, but whether they've been great all year long or not, I used the last 2 weeks to review guys that are struggling substantially the last couple weeks, including Matt McLain, and give my thoughts on what you should be expecting the rest of the way. So we'll see. Will Benson, Jake Fraley, Garrett Hampson, Connor Joe. They got all these pieces here. I don't know exactly what they're going to do. But again, Candelario will be back soon. He's going to go onto the roster. He has no options left, so they either have to activate Candelario or release him. They're not going to release him. Christian Encarnacion Strand can still be sent out. He still has options left, so that's tough. And don't forget, Noel Marte also, Austin Hayes also. Those guys are both on the injured list too. So Reds got too many guys. We'll see if they make a trade or if they just continue to piece it together. Ha-Seong Kim is an update there. Ha-Seong Kim doubled and walked in a rehab game last night. He's just 3 for 26 to start his rehab assignment, so he's still finding his groove. Maybe a week or so from now, the Rays will promote him. He should play most days for the Rays. And someone asked me the other day, what are my expectations? Look at what he did last year and look at that as a per-game performance level, and I think that's fair. He's not going to be a batting average guy. He'll hit a few home runs, steal some bases, might be multi-position eligible depending upon your format. Not a bad pickup right now. Not a guy that I expect to lead anyone to a championship, but not a bad pickup at all. Marcus Semien was hitting 173 with a 485 OPS a week ago. Literally a week ago, his OPS was 485. Maybe the worst hitter in baseball. Well, maybe worst hitter in baseball. He's now got an OPS of 606. In a week, his OPS has gone up 125 points. I don't know if you noticed this. He had 2 home runs last night to kind of pique everyone's attention, I believe. But the last week, he has 3 home runs, 2 steals. He's driven in 5. He scored 8 runs. He's 11 for 18, which is a 611 batting average. Now, there's no way he's going to get to where we expected him to be. He is aging. His performance level is down. There's no doubt. But this is hot work. And this is a reminder that when you play every day and the team has faith in you and just keeps you're eventually going to produce. It's kind of the Brian Reynolds thing, right? It's like eventually it's going to happen for Marcus Semien. I think he can be a usable piece the rest of the way. Obviously, in the rankings over at fantasyguru.com that came out on June 1st, we didn't have this run, and I wasn't saying, oh, you got to get this guy. I'm still not saying you've got to get this guy. But for those of you that like to play the short game, for those of you in head-to-head, probably there's a good chance Marcus Semien's on the waiver wire. At least he was until he hit 2 home runs last night. And again, he's 11 for his last 18. He'll be effective the rest of the way, but keep those expectations in check. Last year's level of production is probably a best-case scenario this year the rest of the way. But we'll see. He's on a hot streak right now. Nolan Arenado hit a home run last night. He had a couple of hits. Just checking in on him. I mean, he's got about an 80 RBI pace this year, does Arenado. He's been really, the hope obviously at this point is that he gets traded into a really good scenario, to a good lineup, and has a great second half. Hitting 228, 80 RBI pace, 675 OPS. He's barely rosterable. Again, this is more on a hope that he's going to get dealt. And I don't like playing that game. And it depends on your team and how deep your leagues are and all that kind of stuff. But for those of you in shallow leagues, great night last night, Nolan Arenado, but it's just not really happening for him. A guy you might want to consider picking up in all leagues is Bryce Eldridge. Hit a grand slam and a sac fly last night. The Giants released Lamont Wade. Don't really have a first baseman. They brought in Dominic Smith. Bryce Eldridge could be promoted at some point in the second half of the season. He stands like 6'7". He's got 35, 40 home run power at full development. He's their number 1 hitting prospect. He also pitches. He's a two-way guy. He doesn't pitch for the Giants, but he throws 98 miles an hour. He's got a chance to be a big bopper in the second half of the season. So if you're playing the proactive game, Ray, give me a name from someone that no one's talking about. Bryce Eldridge is the guy that we could see in the second half playing first base for the Giants. And then we get Kyle Teel being promoted. It's being reported that he'll be promoted by the White Sox today. He's a catcher. Unclear where he's going to play. Maybe he'll play some first base. They don't have a first baseman, really. They can move around. Miguel Vargas, obviously. Teal was batting 295 with a 395 on base percentage and a 495 slugging percentage. He's a really good offensive player. Maybe their number 2 offensive prospect behind Colston Montgomery. So for those of you in 2 catcher leagues, Kyle Teel, really interesting pickup. 1 catcher leagues, I like to see how this is going to play out. But Kyle Teel, a name to know for this week's Fab Run if you have that. Spent a few minutes talking some baseball here before we get to talk with Russell Clay about the football product. Jesus Luzardo, 20 runs in 5 innings. And I mean, his ERA went from 2.15 to 4.46 in 2 games. His ERA doubled. And his whip is now like 1.38 or something ridiculous. And everyone's trying to figure out what's going on here, and everyone's analyzing this. And the answer is no one has an answer. The velocity looks okay. Maybe the pitches are off a little bit location-wise, but nothing crazy. Tipping pitches. That seems to be the most, it's either tipping pitches or mechanics. But even so, if we say mechanics, there's nothing in the data. I mean, his location's off, we get a little bit less run. Like it's not really bad. The velocity's fine. Here's what he said. I think maybe whether it's pitch selection, pitch location, or tipping, whatever it might be, I don't really have an answer. But definitely something I need to figure out quick. So everyone says he's healthy, including him. The velocity is there, no doubt about that. There is nothing overtly wrong with his pitch location, a little bit off, but nothing bad. So I can't tell anyone to drop Jesus Luzardo. Could I tell you to start him? No. Can't tell you to do that. Absolutely not. Can I tell you to drop him? I mean, again, some of you are in 10-team head-to-head leagues and people drop guys that shouldn't be dropped. So I can't say that there aren't people out there that could drop Jesus Luzardo. Some of you are in leagues where you only start 5 pitchers each day instead of the 9. It's the standard. I have Jesus Luzardo in a couple leagues. I'm not dropping him. Catastrophic beatdowns killed me. I lost 6 spots in the standings, or 6 points in the standings the last week in pitching because of Jesus Luzardo in Tout Wars. 15-team mixed league. So I feel your pain. And the good news is that there is nothing. I know it's not helpful. I know. I'm betting tipping pitches. That's what my bet is. So keep Luzardo, keep the faith. He was too good for 2 months before 2 outings just have ruined things here of late. Shane Bieber, one of these guys we were hoping would come up out of the injured list and save us this year. Not me, but some people were hoping that. Scratch from a start at Double-A. Renewed soreness in his elbow after a bullpen session. He's talked to doctors, and they're trying to determine what to do here in his return from Tommy John surgery. There's no definitive with Shane Bieber, but as we sit here right now, clearly he's not going to be back before the All-Star break. And there has to be serious consideration given to him being out until well into the second half, or maybe not even pitching this year. We just don't know at this point. But if you were making moves to add Shane Bieber, if you're making moves to add Shane Bieber, really bad. Feel bad for the guy, but there it is. Finally, before we talk some football, Cole Ragans returned yesterday. And, he returned from his groin injury that was an issue, and then it wasn't an issue, and then it came back. And 5 runs, 5 hits, 3 walks, struck out 4 in 3 innings. Like, he only went 3 innings and allowed 5 runs. And, it's not really fair to judge guys that have dealt with injuries. And it's not really fair to judge guys off of 10 starts, okay? But Cole Ragans has made 10 starts. He's not averaging 5 innings a start. He's at 48 innings total here. The strikeout rate is phenomenal. 36% strikeout rate is super elite for a starting pitcher. The 8% walk rate is about a percentage point down from last year. It's really good. Problem is he's getting hammered. He's getting hammered compared to years past. The batted ball data doesn't say this should be happening. Batting average of balls in play, though, is 382. So what we have is a guy who's dealt with injury. We have with a guy who is missing bats, as always, and better than that, actually, who's limiting walks as well as he's ever done, and whose ERA is 5.2. Now, digging a little bit deeper, his expected ERA is 2.5. His SIERA is 2.5. His xFIP is 2.5. So the bottom line is, if you have Ragans, keep the faith, because he's pitching way better than it appears on the surface. If someone in your league is dangling him because they want to rage drop him or rage trade him, make an offer. There's always the concern about the groin, which again has been an issue twice. So you can't just forget that. But performance-wise, it hasn't been there for Cole Ragans to this point in the results. But going beneath the hood, lots of positivity with Cole Ragans. We'll continue to follow all this stuff over at fantasyguru.com. Remember, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. Get signed up for the product. One price for the entire baseball product. Seasonal DFS wagering. One price, the whole thing. Support at fantasyguru.com or click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. It's also football time, folks. We'll talk to Russell here in a few minutes. It's football time. We've got a great football product available over at fantasyguru.com. We're adding to it on a daily basis now. Remember, if you get the draft guide, it's a full season product. We just call it a draft guide. Full season coverage over at fantasyguru.com. Whatever package you sign up for, whether it's seasonal, DFS, or wagering for football, or get them all, become VIP. Whichever package you sign up for, you get access to the accompanying Discord room. So to ask questions to all the people on staff, to ask questions to fellow users of the website, you can do that. We have PPR rankings, non-PPR rankings, dynasty rankings, rookie rankings, best ball rankings. There's rankings I'm leaving out, I'm sure, IDP rankings. We got a lot of rankings over at fantasyguru.com. We'll have that all season long too, by the way. We've got all of the coverage of player movement. We've got articles talking about the positions. We'll have there's like a series of 20 podcasts that we'll do. We'll have training camp day where the entire staff spends like 12 hours going over everything over at fantasyguru.com. So hit us up now. It's time to get in. fantasyguru.com, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. Send a note to support at fantasyguru.com. Support at fantasyguru.com. Before we talk to Russell Clay, I see Chris D sneaking in a baseball question. Rest of the season, Dansby Swanson or Marcus Semien. Of course, different positions, both middle infielders. I would go with Dansby Swanson. His team, the Cubs, has really offensively been just a much better team. And Swanson is younger. I have a little bit more confidence in him, but very similar, actually, outlooks. Not appreciably different between these two guys. But I would go Dansby Swanson over Marcus Semien, Chris. All right, so let's talk some football. It's Friday. On Fridays, we always talk football with Russell Clay. He's our dynasty guy over at fantasyguru.com. For those of you interested in that, he's the guy to comment to complain about. No, don't complain to Russ. Don't do that. Let's talk to Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. How you doing, Russ?
What's going on, Ray? How you doing, man?
Good. I'm just trying to get people to blame you instead of me for something.
I know. Hey, yeah, no. Ray gets blamed for enough. You guys, Jeff gets blamed for stuff. Everyone's. You can throw it on me for the dynasty stuff, right?
I appreciate it, Russ. Thank you. Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. Again, 12:30 every Friday. He joins us here Eastern Standard Time. How are things going with Dynasty? We got the Dynasty room I thought it was going to slow down a little bit here. It really hasn't slowed down that much. People are in full on Dynasty. People are doing startup Dynasty drafts like starting today. It's so far before the season. They can't wait. How's it going with the Dynasty stuff?
It's good. I think me and Ray laugh every time someone asks about a 2027 rookie pick.
Right.
But we love all of you. Happy you guys are in there. And yeah, it's a great time of year for Dynasty. If you're getting in one, this is like the time of year to hop in the Discord, check out all the content. I mean, we're going to have articles coming out, but we got our staff rookie rankings already out. We got the Dynasty ratings out, and you have the resources in the Discord. So it's a good time.
I know, Russ, you're also doing you're still work to come for the Dynasty stuff for FG. That's something people are hot and heavy on. Do you have like a target date? Because they're fiending for more information on Dynasty besides just the rankings.
So the one series I do every year is called Rookie Expectations, which will be starting next week with the quarterbacks, and we'll probably try to get through running backs as well. And I will have an article that basically sets up how to use our site with the Dynasty stuff, whether it's the Discord, the rankings, and just kind of give a little glossary of what we're working with here. But yeah, more to come. I see, it's funny because we were doing the outlooks this week. We had a ton of stuff come out. I see Tyler has a marching band of content coming out for best ball. I'm guessing next week. Same with Jeff. So yeah, it's a fun time of year for us. It's nice to have a purpose in the off season. You know what I mean, Ray? I know you do the baseball, but this is a fun time of year.
Yeah, when people say off season, I'm like, what are you talking about? It must be nice to have an off season. I wish I had one of those. I haven't had one in 25 years. Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. Okay, fine. This is the last time I get to ask you this, and we finally have an answer. So I'm really happy for this, Russ. Aaron Rodgers signed with the Steelers. Woohoo! So we know what team he's on. We know. Here we go. Twofold question, and give it your final answer. I won't ask you again. Rodgers' value in the dynasty setup, is there any? And what do you think of him in a redraft scenario this season?
So there's two entirely different value sets for dynasty. It's are you competing or are you younger? Rodgers is going to have value, and especially, Ray, I know you're doing a startup now, but those who are doing startups now, you got Rodgers so late if you got him. So if you got him in a super flex, you got something for nothing. So that's a huge win. And that's where it kind of gets wonky of what's value and who's where and what in rankings. Because if you're a win now team and you waited till the 19th round for your third quarterback and you got Rodgers, you're pretty happy today, even though it's going to be gross for the most part this year. But starting QB, right, Ray?
Oh, yeah. And there's a lot of starting QB. There's like 5 teams that don't even know who their starting QB is. We'll talk about one of those teams in a few minutes. Okay, let's keep the quarterback talk going. On the other end of the spectrum, obviously, CJ Stroud starting his career. Stroud was really good as a rookie, regressed a little bit last year. So everyone's trying to figure out what to expect. And then we got this shoulder thing. And I just wanted to ask you, I asked, I think Tyler earlier in the week, or maybe it was Armando. You concerned about the shoulder stuff with CJ Stroud? It sounds relatively minor, but you hear a throwing arm with the guy that you're kind of looking at and have a little bit of concern with anyway. And your inclination might be to just take the next guy on your rankings list. I don't know. What do you think about CJ Stroud right now?
There's always concern when you talk about a shoulder, but My real fear with Stroud right now is not injury, but does he become the Phil Rivers of this generation for fantasy, where he doesn't run and he's got a decent offense, but let's hope those weapons hold on. We all know what happened to Rivers after Tomlinson and Gates started to fall off. Then it just became, all right, Rivers is QB 15 every year. So I hope that doesn't happen to Stroud. But yeah, I would say for now, the shoulder's a minor thing.
Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. We're talking about your guy again. Trevor Lawrence is in the news again, and it's good this time. Liam Cohen said, we need to fix your footwork, kid. And apparently it's working. At least that's what we're hearing. We've talked, you and I, a lot about Trevor Lawrence, the failure to live up to expectations, got paid the huge contract, all that kind of stuff. They put him in a great position now, right? They brought in an offensive-minded head coach. He's been working on his mechanics. He's supposedly healthy now after last year's issues. Looking at Lawrence and everything that we've seen to this point in time, did you spotlight his footwork, Russ, as one of the things that you felt was holding him back? Or is this just kind of coach speak trying to give the guy some positivity?
Well, it's certainly been matchup dependent and game to game, but it does feel like throughout his NFL career, teams that can get pressure up the middle on him, he is pretty helpless against that. And that could be a footwork thing. I am not Greg Cosell of the QB evals, but I will say there are some defenses that have had his number completely, and it probably has to do with that. Yeah.
Russell Clay of FG. Colts quarterback position, Russ. I took in the dynasty draft we just did, let me pull it up. 45 rounds, 12 teams.
Whew.
So it's IDP, full thing, all that kind of stuff. I took Daniel Jones as my third quarterback.
Love it.
In the 33rd round.
Love it. I mean, that's what you want to happen, right?
Right.
And,
so
yeah.
I'm feeling good about that. But let's talk through Richardson first before we get to Daniel Jones.
Sure.
Richardson's got the shoulder issue. He's had a shoulder issue. I don't know if it's chronic. I don't know if it's related. I don't know. We don't know exactly what happened, but dude is 6'5", 250, and he's made of freaking glass. Like guy can't make it through practices. Like, it's too early, or is it, to say he's just a bust? Like, are we at that point? I know people still dream, and we've seen it at times. You know, but like, as I've said, the only time we've really seen him have success is when he's running over 5'11", 190-pound cornerbacks. Like, he should do that. He's 6'5", 250. Anthony Richardson, not looking good for the start of the season. I don't know what his career looks like. So what's his value, especially in the dynasty game?
Even in his picture that they used to make that report, he is very like muscular, and he must lift a lot. And I know all those dudes who lift a ton are all hurt all the time. Like, if you've ever met someone who's a true like workout, like all in, maybe taking a little testosterone that they're not telling anybody about, they're all hurt. And I don't know what the deal with Richardson is, but yeah, he's had a lot of issues, and it's unclear what we're going to do with him. But does he have talent? Our team's going to continue to give him chances. I would say yes, but as a starter long term, it feels unlikely. Kind of like Cordero Patterson, where we watched him all those years. We were like, this should be something. It just isn't. So
there are lots of quarterbacks. Will Levis has got talent.
Tons. Yeah.
You know, so interestingly enough, I'm looking at the dynasty draft that I was just talking about. Anthony Richardson went in the 17th round.
Wow.
I got Daniel Jones in the 33rd round.
Yeah.
Again, there's always somebody that the talent, and I get it, but it's like, there's nothing for me. No. The answer to Anthony Richardson is just no. I don't even care what, just the answer is no. Ray, I'm going to give a 7th round pick in 2027. Okay, sure. But otherwise, the answer, I don't know. So certainly it looks like at this point that week 1 is Daniel Jones to lose. Now, again, we don't know specifically with Richardson. He might be fine in 2 weeks, and maybe we're blowing this out of proportion. Maybe Anthony Richardson's starting in week 1 for the Colts. We don't know. But it's certainly looking more like it's going to be Daniel Jones. So talk us through, you seem somewhat excited by Daniel Jones. Was it just the price point of the 33rd round? Was it, it is. So it's not like Daniel Jones is going to be quarterback 14 for you if he's starting in week 1.
He got a bad rap in New York, and I was part of that. We were all part of that by the end. We all wanted him. We all wanted that era to be done.
Right.
I don't think Daniel Jones is a great player, but I don't think Geno Smith is either. And
Right.
Geno Smith's made a great second half of his career.
Right.
He got significantly overpaid,
Yep.
and that just changed the whole thing. Reinstall him with an offense with Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, Josh Downs, Adonai Mitchell, and Tyler Warren now at tight end. And that's a significantly better roster than he ever had in New York, even with Saquon. So he could be a top 20 fantasy QB, and that wouldn't shock me at all. So I probably would have him closer to that QB 20 if we knew he was starter week 1.
Yeah, Daniel Jones, and I know a lot of it's short stuff, but 64% completion percentage, so he can complete a pass. And I think the comp to Geno Smith makes sense in a lot of ways, but one thing that Daniel Jones does that Geno Smith has no chance of doing, Daniel Jones is really athletic. And it doesn't, he's not as sexy or flashy as some of these other guys, but he averages 5.5 yards a carry. He had a season of 700 rushing yards with 7 rushing touchdowns, did Daniel Jones. Like, even if it's, let's say he's the quarterback, right? 400 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns. Like, that's doable for Daniel Jones. And that doesn't sound like anything, but that takes you from quarterback 19 to quarterback 15, right? Like, that's a significant difference in the fantasy space. It might even be more significant than that, Russ.
Absolutely. And again, if he just starts the full season, he's already got a huge leg up on. You mentioned it at the beginning, but when I did the QB outlooks, I laughed because the bottom 5, we have not had a year like this in a while where it's chaos back there.
Giants, Saints, Browns, Colts, like it was Pittsburgh until yesterday, right? Like, It's like, oh geez. By the way, you mentioned that's one of your contributions for the draft guide over at fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page, folks. QB outlooks, what is that?
Every year we go through the staff there, Tyler, myself, Jeff, and Armando, and we preview each position separated by tiers. And this year I used comedians to separate the tiers, which I had a lot of fun going down memory lane with. But it's just a good primer to get everybody ready for the off season before training camp hits. But I know Tyler did a top 60 receivers. I was like, you D-Gen. So
making you look bad?
No, but
well, basically what we're talking about,
60 receivers deep. Yeah.
Paragraph scouting report kind of things. That's basically what they are, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Kind of like the old days where you used to buy a magazine, folks, and you used to have the huge write-ups. Now a lot of the magazines have one sentence, but this is old school. So that's what we got. That's what, and Russell did the quarterbacks, as he mentioned. Russell Clay of fantasyguru.com joins every Friday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time. He runs the live stream, which you get access to if you sign up for the product at fantasyguru.com. He runs a live stream on Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock Eastern. So check that out as well. Continuing to talk with the Colts. And again, we're in that time zone where the NFL is 365 days a year. There's really nothing. There's one story to talk about right now. It's Aaron Rodgers. There's nothing else to talk about in the NFL. So we get training camp reports of, oh my gosh, Michael Pittman hit his knee against another guy. And oh my gosh, Michael Pittman. Oh my God. Like when the injury happened, no one knew what happened. And he limped off the field. And he bumped knees. Okay. So he's going to be fine, according to reports. I think that he, and it's been noted, he played through a fractured back last year. So he's probably pretty tough. So it's very reasonable to think that this story means nothing come week 1. If Daniel Jones is out there, who is Michael Pittman? Because he is somebody that, caught 100 passes in this league. Like this is a legitimate guy. And obviously his outlook is better with Jones than it is with Richardson. Is Michael Pittman a wide receiver 2? Is he a 3? Is he a 4? Who is he with Daniel Jones?
Unfortunately, it does feel like the 100 catch Michael Pittman era is behind us. drafting Tyler Warren this past season is not good for those intermediate targets. And drafting Adonai Mitchell and Alec Pearson the 2 years prior, not a good sign either. And then hitting on Josh Downs in the 3rd round. So they are going to be rotating 3 or 4 wide receiver sets regularly, I would imagine, even with Daniel Jones at quarterback. So when you really look at that offense, it doesn't scream anyone having 100 catches this year. And they probably want it that way. So it's not going to be great for Pittman fantasy wise, but even last year, it wasn't great. He dudded out on expectations, still ended the year with 800 receiving yards. So it's probably going to look like that again. Maybe gets to 900, maybe gets to 1,000, but 2023 and 2022 might have been the ceiling there.
We're doing a 12-team mock draft. It'll be part of the draft guide over at fantasyguru.com. Almost wrapped up, so we'll have it posted in a couple of days. Michael Pittman's my 4th receiver in that 12-team league. Is that about right? That's
about right. Yep. 3rd or 4th, you'll be able to throw him in flex-wise, and other weeks you'll say, I'm good. If AR is starting again.
Right. I'm good. Terry McLaurin wants money. We all do. He, to be fair, has earned it. He catches 70 passes for 1,000 yards, no matter what reject they had out there throwing passes. Last year, he went for 80 catches and 13 touchdowns, and they got Jaden Daniels. He's their best wide receiver. You can make the argument that behind Daniels, he's their most important player on offense, at least skill-wise. He wants to get paid. So talk us through, do you have any concerns when guys do this? Kind of the James Cook thing, too. It's like, I don't know, McLaurin was there. He showed up at OTAs, and he left OTAs. So are you concerned when that happens with the guy, the money factor? And secondarily, what are statistic expectations for McLaurin? Because I think all of us look at the receptions and the yards and think that's doable again. But 13 touchdowns is a big number. Is he regressed to 8 or 9 this year? What do you think?
I'm more worried than ever, but I do think Terry McLaurin will be fine because he's Terry McLaurin. Okay. I hope. But we saw this a few years ago with Brandon Ayuk, and it just couldn't have gone worse. We've seen this a few times, and these guys make so much money now. They have such good agents now that it becomes much less about football when these big dollar signs are involved. I mean, Ray, 20 years ago, Greg Jennings was fighting for what, 5-10 million?
Right. If that.
Now Terry McLaurin's fighting for like 15 million a year. This is like serious money. So it's a different time, but I still think McLaurin's going to be there. He also has a huge opportunity right now with a very special quarterback. So I think he's gonna work it out.
The Rams got Matthew Stafford for now, a quarterback. Again, we don't know how long he's going to hang around. We're not sure how long Sean McVay is going to hang around, but for now it's happening. And they added Davante Adams. So, I think you can make the argument that Matthew Stafford's never had 2 better wide receivers to throw to. He's had maybe a single better wide receiver in the past. Never had 2 guys like Puka Nacua and Davante Adams. What are we expecting here? A lot of positivity that Adams is helping Puka with his footwork and his route running, which makes sense. I mean, Davante Adams is a Hall of Fame level wide receiver. Is Puka easily the one here? What are we expecting? Is he getting 100 catches if he's healthy? Is Adams getting 80 catches? Are you worried about the health stuff with Puka, meaning that Adams maybe is the guy you'd more likely target based upon ADP? Talk us through the 2 wideouts.
So Puka is someone I am lower on than consensus, not from a talent perspective, just from a, oh God, what's he doing out there type of thing. And he would fully admit that, to himself and to everyone, that he's a bit chaotic out there and they love him for it. And that's part of his playing style. I brought up Anquan Bolden when talking about Puka Nacua this week, a guy who was without question a top 5 to 10 receiver for quite a period in the 2000s. And he never had the single season other than his rookie year to really say, hey, I'm here. I'm with the Andre Johnsons. I'm with the Larry Fitzgerald. It was kind of like, oh, he'd have a 2-month stretch and then he'd be out for the year. And I wonder if that's Puka's career outcome here. So I do worry about his style of play more than anything else. But if you want to have Puka as a top 3 fantasy receiver, I see the vision.
It's hurt a lot, right? I mean, he even admitted he's not going to play a long time. Like, he came out in the offseason and said, I don't know if I'm hitting, I don't know what was his quote. I don't know if I'm hitting 30. It was something like he's not going to be playing this game. He's not going to be Devontae Adams. He's not going to play this game forever. He's always hurt. Puka Nacua leaves every game at some point with an injury or
college too. Yeah.
Every game. And he might miss 3 snaps, but he's on the sidelines and there's a trainer. I don't know. I just worry about that a little bit too. Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. A tight end and the running back to talk to you about before we let you go, Russ. Things are changing in Detroit. We know that. Ragnar retired. They lost their offensive coordinator. He's now the head coach in in Jacksonville. So we got Dan Campbell, who loves everyone. Dan Campbell, who's might be the number 1 rah-rah coach in sports, right? A leader, all that kind of stuff. Saying great things about Jahmyr Gibbs, saying great things about Jameis Williams, because apparently Jameis Williams is going to catch 112 passes for 1,900 yards this year. He's going to be Randy Moss, because that's what everyone's saying. And then Sam Laporta. Laporta, terrific start. Decent second year, kind of like CJ Stroud, right? Like the expectations were really high, didn't come through. We're hearing Dan Campbell say a lot of great things about Sam Laporta. Where are we at with Sam Laporta? Is it more year 2 with him? Are we going back to year 1 with him? What do you think?
Yeah, it feels like he's going to be in that 800 receiving yard range for the next couple years. He actually had a really good second season for a tight end. Most don't break out till year 3, 4, 5. Yep. So I think we do have to look at that. But when you look at Laporta, that year 1, it was the 10 touchdowns. Yep. If he sticks in this range for a few more years of the 60 catches, 700 yards, it's not pretty, but it will be a tight end 1 season. And that's the game we play with tight ends, right? Where it's not fun to even have them. But then you look up at the end of the year and you go, what? Sam Laporta's tight end 5?
Right.
All right.
I wanted to bench him half the season. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Fine. So that's probably where we're at. The Lions offense should still be good, but yeah, could take a slight downturn this year.
By the way, do you like regular PPR for tight ends, or you like tight end premium if you had to make a decision? That 1.5 points a catch.
Probably just regular, but it is fun to have that added element. So I like the little added elements, not the like really complicated ones. So that's a simple one where we can adjust pretty easily. I
think Scott Fishbowl's 2 points a catch for a tight end.
That's where I get like, I don't know. Yeah. I have to rethink my whole life.
and this year, if I'm correct, there's also a point per target. Yeah. So, I mean, Brock Bowers going to be, Trey McBride going to be top 8 picks. Like, three points a catch. Like, geez Louise. I think that's a little pushing a little bit too myself. Let's ask you a running back question, Russ, before we let you go. Russell Clay joining us here as he does every Friday. The Bears, all the excitement, right? New head coach, bringing in players. Caleb Williams, was very good last season. Let's talk about the backfield, though. We've talked a lot about the passing attack, Colson Loveland, the whole thing. Let's talk about the rushing game. Rashawn Johnson is there, but they let Khalil Herbert go. DeAndre Swift is at the top. They drafted the Monog. How do I say it? Monoghy? I don't even know. I always get it wrong.
It doesn't matter.
Kyle M.
We'll learn it if we have to.
That's what Jeff Manns always says, too. But DeAndre Swift is obviously the number 1 guy. And last year, there were moments with him, but overall, it was disappointing. It was. DeAndre Swift said that, he's talking to the press, and he said, look, I suck last year, which I kind of appreciate when a player says things, that are negative, because most of these guys are, I'm great. They need to get me the ball more, even though I've had 8 fumbles the last 3 weeks. So Swift is, I guess, being very self-critical. Ben Johnson, we know, has a history here of dynamic work out of the backfield. Jeff Manns has been very vociferous in his support for DeAndre Swift at his current ADP. You're nodding your head like you're in that same boat.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. We're buying into Ben Johnson here. And, that running game in Detroit was so spectacular. We have to take that serious as we watch these systems become so powerful. That's one of the reasons why when I look at Caleb and I look at how he's going to run the offense, if we just fire back up Swift in that offense last year, there were entire halves where Caleb Williams had like 5 passing yards. So that's not going to be the case here. They're going to get moving. They're going to have a lot of plays. Ray, I don't know if you saw the video of the Bears linemen running routes, but that was hysterical to me because that's what Ben Johnson's going to do. He's going to do weird stuff and get people moving. So Swift is in a much healthier offensive system this year. It's going to be good. I do wonder if Roschon takes on that not David Montgomery role, but maybe he takes on some of the harder touches in between the tackles, and that frees up Swift a little more.
That was going to be my follow-up, so you beat me to it. So if you draft Swift, I mean, I think this is a scenario where obviously you'd want a handcuff for sure, but do you think Roschon Johnson may have some flex standalone value too?
Yeah, I'm in. I like that play. They drafted him. He's still on that roster. They've cleared everybody else other than the we'll just say the 7th rounder from Rutgers for now. And it looks like Roschon's the clear backup right now.
Hello, Norm. Russell Clay of Fantasy Guru. He said hello. Did you hear him? You heard him, right? Are you so locked in you didn't hear him? Oh, we're getting a Norm appearance. For those of you that don't know, you can watch the show the live stream on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter X. There's Norm. Norm's looking at Dad saying, "Why'd you pick me up?" Norm is his cat. How old is Norm?
2.
Norm is a 2-year-old, white and orange. Is he?
He's an orange. He's an orange.
He's not a tabby though, is he? Like what do we call him?
I don't know what he is.
Long-haired.
They found him. They found him in a field. Who knows?
Okay. He's a long-haired little guy. But yeah, he said hello. Did you feed him this morning? He sounded angry.
He's still got food in the bowl.
Okay.
But, that was a little angsty, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like, stop paying attention to Ray and the listeners, the followers. I need a cuddle. Russell Clay at fantasyguru.com. So that's a series of questions I got for you. So let's wrap this up talking a little bit more about the draft guide before we let you run here, Russ. As we talked about, it's available right now over at fantasyguru.com. You can get signed up for the seasonal product, the DFS product, the wagering product. You can go all in. You want to get nuts? Let's go. Let's do it. All in. Get them all. Get a discount there. You can always send a note to support at fantasyguru.com. What do you got coming down? You mentioned some work you were doing earlier in your visit here in the Dynasty perspective. What else you got coming down the pipe here for the just launched draft product for 2025?
Yeah, check out our draft guide. Again, we did the outlooks earlier this week. We had our bold predictions, which is always one of my favorite things to check out. So go check those. Rookie expectations starting this week, or starting next week. And tons more content to come. So pretty much anything fantasy football related, you are going to get a really high quality version if you subscribe. I'm really proud of not only my work, but the fellas that's on staff.
Are you still taking requests for how is my Dynasty team? Are you still doing that?
I am.
All right. What is that in case people are new to the show today?
Yes. So for those of you that do subscribe, if you throw yourself in the Discord and say, hey, I want to have my roster reviewed, that can happen. So just pop in the Discord, come hang out, and maybe you'll get a little video, kind of like a cameo, except not really. And we'll do that for you. So yeah, come hang out in the Discord and get your roster reviewed.
Yeah, not a thumbs up, not a happy face, not an eggplant, an actual review. So that's an offer. That's a great offer from Russell Clay. So hit him up in Discord, Russell J. Clay 17. I don't know why. We've talked about this before, but Russell J. Clay 17 in Discord. Russ, thanks for your visit today. We appreciate it. It's always fun on Fridays talking with you. Thanks for sharing your knowledge. Hope you have a good weekend. And we'll talk to you next week.
Awesome. Thanks, Ray.
You got it. He's Russell Clay again. Go to FG, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner, send a note to support at fantasyguru.com. Support at fantasyguru.com. Get signed up. And as Russ said, let us help you have that winning success in 2025. For Russ, I'm Ray. It's been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.